Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Good morning, everybody. Nothing like a Saturday morning discussion of some Sixers hoops, huh? The Sixers won last night in Orlando. Shake Milton stepped the hell up, but they lost on the second half of a back-to-back after destroying the Brooklyn Nets. They fell against the Charlotte Hornets team, and I'm not really that disgusted about it. I know that there was some reaction out there that was very strong, going, how the hell can you beat Brooklyn but fall the next night? Maybe it's because you're tired. Maybe it's because you're fatigued. Maybe it's because you're so damn shorthanded that was inevitable. They battled. They made it to the very end. But at this point, I'm looking for more of some positives to take out of this stretch without the top dogs. And what I'm seeing is guys looking more comfortable and guys finding themselves a bit. George Niang off the bench has been rocking a lot of threes, and he's been playing with a ton of personality. I think that rolls over when Joel Embiid returns to the floor and when James Harden gets back. Same thing with Shake Milton. The difference with Shake is put the ball in his hands. Can he be a primary ball handler? Is that something that you're looking for over a Tyrese Maxey, which I think is fascinating? Look, he's been finishing with a ton of assists over the last couple of games. Hell, he almost had a triple-double in Orlando, and the dude is playing with a ton of swag right now. He finished with 10 assists in Orlando, 9 assists in Charlotte. He's passing the basketball and giving his teammates a good opportunity to succeed. I think there's so much value in this. The problem is he needs to stay healthy, number one. Number two, will Doc Rivers play him? And number three, will he be consistent? It seems he's one of those guys that with minutes will look better. The problem is there's not that many minutes to go around when healthy. James Harden is James Harden, and James Harden will be playing a ton of basketball as he should. When can you fit him in? And the problem, too, is whenever we have these discussions on what players should be playing how many minutes, you forget that the regular season is the regular season. When the time matters most, these starters are logging in 40-plus minutes of action. There's probably 8 minutes or so to go around for some of the reserves, to a degree, right? There's always exceptions. The sixth man, if that happens to be a guard, it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, you get my point, though. With Tyrese Maxey being a guard, D'Anthony Milton being a guard, James Harden being a guard, where does this all fit when it matters most? Now, I guess you could say, well, we need to get there first and give Shake some time because he's clearly helping the team out right now. And yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know, there are times where I don't like Tyrese Maxey with the ball in his hands because I think he gets confused on when to attack, when to be Tyrese Maxey, how to get looks for his teammates. So he's always struggling on what to do, and he's overthinking the game. The game doesn't come natural at that point. And then you find Tyrese Maxey making some mistakes. You need to let him flourish in a role, which is get the hell up court and just attack. Like, I think he's the best when he's all about himself, to be honest with you. Use that speed. Beat defenders. Go to the rack. You know, there's times where I love that Jimmy. Take that Jimmy. Let it fly from three. When Maxey's in a groove and he's hitting 4 threes and it's the first half, it's like, yeah, baby, keep it going. As he's running down the floor with a big smile on his face. But if we're going with what can be an option outside of James Harden with the rock in his hands, I'm at the point where I'm liking Shake Milton the second most right now. That could change if there's a slump involved. And you know what, to be fair, there's times where I'm looking at D'Anthony Milton thinking the same thing. But right now, it's got to go to Shake after the performances of the last few nights. I like watching this team play some good ball right now. Good team ball, and they're looking like a group that's playing the right way. They might fall because they're shorthanded. They might fall because it's the second half of a back-to-back and they're getting tired. Look, the jump shots were not falling. They fell a lot in Brooklyn. They were rocking and rolling from behind the arc when they played against Brooklyn. In Charlotte, you go 4 of 25 from 3 through the first 3 quarters, and the fact that it was even as close as it was is amazing. And they left it all out there. Guys battled. That type of stuff happens. But if you're watching through the eye test, there's a lot there to appreciate. The question just becomes, will it look the same when guys return? Or, I guess we know it's not going to look the same. You have a dominant big man. You have a point guard in James Harden when the ball gets sticky in his hands. Tyrese Maxey's not there. It's going to look different. But will it have the same flow of them playing the right way? Because when I watch with their current personnel, they're playing the right way. And maybe, this needed to happen. Now, I didn't want this to happen. I'm saying maybe this needed to happen. And what I mean by that is, if guys like Niang, if guys like Shake, if guys like DeAnthony Milton, who at times is very hot and very cold, but just ultimately, he's definitely a really solid piece, and I'm really enjoying watching. Maybe them scoring and them looking good and feeling good can help out when these players return, because it's back to getting to their game, and it's back to them doing their thing. But if they kick it out and George Niang is hitting 5 threes, if they're kicking it out and Shake Milton is helping out offensively, if they're kicking it out and, someone's there who's been playing well over the last couple of games without them in the lineup, well, then it just helps and improves the entire team from there. And then it can help that said player who hasn't been playing for a little bit of time get reestablished. I'm not hitting no panic button. Their record is 10-9 at this point, so they're 1 game over 500 through 19 games of the season. But if I'm looking at the longevity and really looking at where they are now compared to where they were in the start of the season, all right, Joel will return and he'll be giving you your 30 plus, if not 40 plus, if not 50 plus. I can't get over that. He drops 42, 43 points. I forget off the top of my head. I think it was 42. And the following night, he's giving you 59 on a second half of a back-to-back, and we just forget that he dropped 40 plus the night before. Like, it's so casual. It's so casual. By the way, Doc Rivers is coaching. I know people seem to forget that, but Doc Rivers is coaching. Remember, he doesn't always only coach the losses. He's this shorthanded. At times, he's throwing in the zone, so he's making Orlando uncomfortable. Granted, look, these teams aren't special. Brooklyn is, they're not special, but Brooklyn has superior talent. I actually like some of the young kids on Orlando. Here's Bobo out there. His length is ridiculous. He's blocking perimeter shots. He's all over the place. Very tall and lanky. Looks a little funny out there just because he's so skinny, but he's ridiculously good. Like, he's got a lot of upside. You go, wow, very raw. But you can see when he gets in his bag, it's like, damn. But Doc Rivers helped put this team in a position to succeed. Not only that, they're working their asses off right now. Tobias is leading. The problem, too, with Tobias is when he gets these 21 shots, he looks a lot better. When he has the ball in his hands and he takes advantage of some matchups, it's great. I just don't know, when fully healthy, when he's going to be giving you the 21 shots. It'll probably be more like 13, 14. And if the ball gets sticky elsewhere, is it just Tobias Harris standing in the corner instead of utilizing his strengths, which is beating up on some matchups with his physical presence? I don't know. The only thing that makes me feel more confident in Tobias Harris figuring out when everyone's healthy compared to maybe some other fans out there is he always tends to do it. It might take longer than we like, and it may take longer than expected, but by the end, there's Tobias. There's just a lot more games played than we probably want it to be by the end of it. Niang, 18 points, 5 of 7 from 3 in Orlando. He's screaming at the line when guys are at the free throw line about missing in the second half for some chicken nuggets. I don't know if he's just playing around, having some jokes. Maybe he spoke about it on the post-game show or not. I saw people interviewing him or whatever, but just hysterical. He did say, so I saw a quote similar to, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but why people in Philadelphia love him, because they look at his body and they look at the way he plays and thinks, this guy's one of us. We could be playing out there like that. And to be fair, the minivan is something that I feel I look like when I'm playing pickup at the park. You know what I'm saying? If I hit the gym and I see a crew running and I'm waiting on the sidelines for my turn, I envision myself playing like George Niang. So he's not wrong. In your face, being annoying. You're probably thinking, shut the fuck up, get out of here. No, here's a 3 in your face, damn it. Problem is, I actually have to make those threes. It's been tough. It's been tough out there. Haven't been able to, put up the shots I would like to over the last couple of years. Anyway, less about me, more about where the 76ers are. I'm a little bummed that Shea couldn't get that triple-double, though. He was 1 rebound shy. I talked about his layers in the past of his ability to score offensively. I saw some amazing passes. And same, I saw an amazing pass from Paul Reed. I'm like, oh, baby, is Paul Reed now on the playmaking train too? These guys are taking advantage of the minutes they are getting. And I know you normally look at the stars and say, well, the stars is what make everybody roll. And to be fair, I think Joel Embiid's presence of him being an MVP caliber player again before he got injured is what maybe helped everybody else get in line. But then it's on the role players to say, all right, he's not here. Now it's our turn. When he gets back, we don't skip a beat. And they've been playing extremely well. Did I imagine it looking like this? No, not really. But I remember looking through the last 5 games or so and going, I can still see them competing. This was when Joel was healthy. You just didn't have Harden and Maxey. And at times, Tobias was out. What was it, with the hip? But now you're seeing P.J. Tucker has some soreness. Well, it sure looks like it on the offensive side. He finally made a damn basket against Charlotte. But, I mean, you go to that Orlando game, and there's 5 inchers. Not even 5 footers. 5 inchers that he just can't put back up when he's underneath the basket. At this point, I'd imagine you're so damn in your head, you just can't get out of it. And it raises the question. Do you just keep grinding away? Now, Keith Pompey of the Inquirer, he did a question and answer piece that he put up on the Philadelphia Inquirer. And somebody asked him a question about P.J. Tucker. And it was basically, is it time for him to be moved? And do you try some other options? And this is what Pompey said, and I do agree with him. When it comes to P.J. Tucker, a lot of this is just all about what he's going to provide for you in the postseason. You'll see his value most when the games matter more. Now, that kind of gives him a long leash and a free pass, and maybe he deserves that for his pedigree, what he did for Milwaukee, what he did for the Miami Heat. And you just say, this guy's been around a long time. This guy has logged a lot of minutes in the NBA. He has played too much basketball to just blow forever. And the regular season is what it is. But what you paid him for, when everyone wondered, is he too old? Is he worth the money? You will see that when you're in the second round of the playoffs and you're going to war, in sports terms, of course. When you're out there battling. The Sixers finish somewhere 1 through 4. And you're battling with whatever team you get matched up with. It's going to be hell. It's going to be toxic. It's going to be hostile environments on the road. But he's playing defense like he did against Kevin Durant against the other team's opposing best player. And you don't expect him to be this ugly shooting the basketball. At some point, he'd snap out of it. I'd have to imagine that's the case. But wait until it gets to the time where you lack toughness. We know. We've been through it all. We heard every single player last offseason talk about what they were missing. Now, I think at times it gets a bit too cliche. And, we're missing the hard-nosed guy. We're missing that toughness. We're missing that. And they said it so much, sometimes I kind of closed my ears to it all and said, all right, I gotcha. You want to have more balls on this team. I'm with you. I know. But when you see it, when it's spring, you'll forget about this weirdness from P.J. Tucker. And I kind of get behind that a bit. Now, does that mean you just keep banging your head against the wall if it's this sloppy? I don't know. I mean, what else are you going to do? You're not going to start George Niang. He's a role player. You can't give that guy too much. You give that guy too much, it takes away from what you do. Like, he's good in doses. He's good in spurts. I like the fact that he's more willing to let it fly. I mean, that's one thing that's killing me from P.J. Tucker. When you're out all of these offensive options, he's still struggling to put up shots. And I know he just kind of hangs out and camps out, but dude, I'm sorry. You got to be able to do it better than you do. I mean, I swear to God, I watched him get the ball in the corner, and it was only one possession. But it did sort of remind me of Ben Simmons. Like, he wanted nothing to do with the ball. He started dribbling to the top of the key. He stopped. He looked around. He's waiting for a dribble handoff or someone to come around and get the basketball, which put his team in a tough position. And it seemed like everyone was all clustered. No one knew where they were going. But it seemed like it was all because P.J. Tucker didn't want the basketball. He's like trying to get rid of it and look for somebody else. He's waving his teammates over to come get it. It's like, dude, I'm just playing the waiting game on him. Because I know he's not this awful there. But still, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record with him, but, you know, this is all the time. This is every game. This is a 2-game recap. There's times where I do a 2-game recap. There's times where I do a post-game recap. And what do you want me to do? If he's not putting up any points and if he's sucking offensively, I got to keep it on it. At the same time, though, I do feel by the end of it, we'll go, okay, yeah. That's it. That's why you got him here. Half-court sets, defensive intensity, scrappy, annoying. You'll see other teams' number one players or one of their best scoring options have a piss-poor night, have a bad day at the office, have some bad body language, walking back to the bench after a timeout, mumbling something underneath of his breath because of what P.J. Tucker was forcing him to do on the defensive side. I truly believe it. It's just right now, it's brutal. And I really don't think you have many options. People like to throw out options. You really don't have any. And I'm not even talking right now. I'm just talking in general. I don't know. Well, he's banged up. He's banged up. I don't think severely or anything, but he didn't, there was questions on what's going on with the fourth quarter and where is he. That's the latest we saw. They play again on Sunday nights. The problem is with Sunday night. Do they have a back-to-back? I was going to say the problem with Sunday night is you have some Eagles football. So that's going to be a little rough. All right, hold on. Let's look here. Sunday, yes, they play Orlando again, and then they have a back-to-back, this time at home. So they're going from Orlando back to Philadelphia for a Monday night game against the Atlanta Hawks. See, that's another thing, too, with that Charlotte loss. You were at home against the Brooklyn Nets on Tuesday, and then you fly to Charlotte and play a night game the next night on the road in a different city. It's a lot. It's a lot. And there's a lot of issues with the Sixers schedule this year where they play a ton of games in not a long time, not a lot of time. So that fatigue factor is real, and you can't run away from it. That's why sometimes with these NBA games, it's like, yeah, you know what? You can value some regular season matchups, but if you play, let's go back to last year. And let's say you play the Miami Heat on a second half of a back-to-back, and you lose. Well, I mean, you're never going to beat an NBA playoff series where you have to play a second half of a back-to-back and see that Miami Heat team. It's like sometimes the circumstances don't allow you to get a full test on who you are. And to this point, we have no idea what any of this team is. Embiid started to wake up. It seems like there was some frustration about who the bench pieces were. Ooh, the bench isn't as good as you thought they were. And Daryl Morey, this and that. It's like, well, now you're starting to see that there's some more depth there. You're winning basketball games without a lot of your firepower. Your bench has stepped up. Paul Reed has stepped up. I don't love Harrell, but at times he does have some energy in him. I don't love him. All right, let's be very clear. I don't love Harrell, and I know the coach is going to get obsessed with Harrell a little too much. That's inevitable because that's the Doc Rivers experience. But I do see his energy out there in doses. that I recognize. Milton's awesome. I really do love what Milton brings. Milton's been a dog. It's just been a lack of being able to do it on a night-to-night basis forever. But maybe this is the difference. Maybe if he could sustain it long enough, it starts to become more of a reality. But everything stems from what do they do when James Harden returns. We actually had a caller call into the show on the day after they beat the Nets and said this is why Harden for Ben Simmons was a bad trade. Oh. Because of a regular season game? That was super entertaining and super fun, but Ben Simmons, who couldn't have been more motivated to play that basketball game. You'll never be more motivated in your life to play a basketball game. Had 11, 11, and 7. 11 points in the most motivated basketball game he'll ever play. Didn't get any points in the fourth quarter. Barely did anything in the second half offensively. And you watched that game and thought to yourself, this team is so much better than James Harden. Or excuse me, this team is so much better without James Harden that I'm now going to rip apart the Ben Simmons for James Harden trade after watching Ben Simmons play that night? The hell is wrong with people? The hell is wrong with people? All right, we have a couple text messages here. Stone. What's up, Stone? Is that a nickname, I'd imagine? Niang is on fire, but last year he stunk in the playoffs. Does he fit your criteria of the regular season player? I don't know, honestly, with George Niang. I really don't know. See, last year I thought he was hurt. And I think at times the matchup is tough. Look, he's one of those players where I think it matters on who the matchup is on a night-to-night basis because he's a bigger guy. He doesn't move extremely well. Although, look, there's been a couple of times where he's driving to the rim. I'm like, yo, he's finishing at the rim. He's taking it to the rack. George Niang with the finish. It's like, in what world is he doing it? So that's nice. Showing off a little bit of that skill set, George Niang. I don't know. I don't know if last year is just a product of who they played, plus also being injured, because if I'm going to look at James Harden last season, it's the same exact thing. I thought one of the bigger issues in last year's playoff failure towards the end was the fact that Joel Embiid needed 6,000 surgeries because his hands were an issue. He got elbowed in the face. He's battling through that adversity. James Harden with the hamstring injury, he wasn't 100%. He didn't look very smooth. I thought George Niang was a bit banged up too and slow based on the matchup. So I don't know. I don't know if this is something where he's always going to be a problem and picked on offensively. The thing is, if he's making his shots and he's drilling some threes, you can live with some of those defensive deficiencies, but he wasn't as locked in on the offensive side as we needed him to be in last year's postseason. No, if you're asking me, do I put him in the same category as the Furkan Korkmazes of the world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I do believe it matters on what the other team has, what their personnel is, and who their roster is on how much we can rely on a George Niang, whether you have to or not, just based off, this is what you have and this is one of your best options and this is what has gotten you to this point. I mean, he's going to be out there and, I'm in a spot where I shrug my shoulders based off of last year. Someone is saying Morey is totally overrated in the chat. Can you explain? I'll give you an opportunity to explain. I don't know how you watch this team right now. I don't know how you watch this basketball team right now. The way they're playing, extremely shorthanded, and think to yourself, Daryl Morey has no idea what he's doing. What moves has he made? Think about what he did with Al Horford. Think about what he did with Josh Richardson. Think about getting Tyrese Maxey. Think about some of these things that he has done. And we're going to say that he's an awful president of basketball operations. And also look around the league and tell me who you want in his place in that position. I'm not telling you Daryl Morey is the greatest NBA president of basketball operations in the history of the world. I'm telling you he's a damn good one, though. I'm telling you you're in a good position if you're ran by Daryl Morey. He got James Harden for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons blows. Ben Simmons blows. Ben Simmons is awful at basketball. He's trash at basketball. Got James Harden for him. Now, there's flaws in James Harden. I don't believe I know he wasn't healthy last year. The ball is in his hands a lot. And I think he needs to work on that a bit. And I think he will. By game 70, I don't think we're talking about the same issues we have with James Harden right now. But, yeah. Halliburton? No. Well, first off, you're acting as if that was an automatic. So the individual who said that he's overrated said, you could have had Tyrese Halliburton. Okay. In theory, but who's to say they wanted Ben Simmons? Maybe they didn't want Ben Simmons. And I'll still take my chances with Tyrese. I'm sorry, not with Tyrese Halliburton. I'll take James Harden over Tyrese Halliburton on a personal. That's me. He's averaging 19 points and 11 assists. And it's ironic because James Harden, and even last year when he wasn't even healthy, if you go back, I'm pretty sure he averaged 20 and 10. So what did he average last year? He averaged 21 points and 10 and a half assists. So James Harden averaged exactly what Tyrese Halliburton has averaged with 3 more rebounds per games. So James Harden averages more than Tyrese Halliburton does. And we're acting as if it's ridiculous to go after a James Harden. I'll take my chances going in a playoff run each year with a James Harden over a Tyrese Halliburton. But you're just assuming that Tyrese Halliburton was an automatic and they would have said absolutely. Maybe they didn't want Ben Simmons. Maybe they didn't want to do that. Maybe they thought Sabonis and what they got in their package was better than Ben Simmons because he doesn't shoot a basketball. But come on now. Tyrese Halliburton? Like, that's the difference in you thinking that Daryl Morey has to go or is bad at his job because he got James Harden instead of Tyrese Halliburton? God bless your soul. All right. Anyway, yeah, I think that Niang has to prove me some stuff in this postseason. I think he was hurt last year, though. Anthony texts in, will Doc find minutes for Shake? Should they keep Tyrese Maxey off ball? It's worth a shot. At this point, there's nothing to lose. At this point, I think with the way Shake is playing, you have to give it an opportunity to see if it succeeds. And maybe there's something with Shake Milton and Tyrese Maxey gelling. At times, I'm watching him and DeAnthony Melton do their thing. I'm like, hey, I kind of like this duo. I kind of like these two out there. Who's to say that we can't say the same with a Tyrese Maxey and a Shake Milton? I put my hands up with Doc Rivers, though, and go, I got no idea. I don't know what he's going to do because there's plenty of times where we think the obvious is staring at you right in the face, but he elects to go in a different direction. There's things that are going well, and he's like, yeah, you know what? That's going well, but I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to tell you that I like something better, and I'll shove it in your face. So I have no idea which direction he's going to go. I would have to imagine after just missing a triple-double, and he gets his first career double-double, he's scoring 24 points, 22 points. You got to find a way to let the kid keep going. You just have to. And I do feel this. I feel that Doc Rivers sees that Shake Milton can play. Like, I believe Doc Rivers believes in Shake Milton. And with that, you would think naturally that means that kid gets some more run. But yeah, we'll try it. Yes, absolutely. And then my last text I'll read here as we wrap up. This is from a no-name. You can leave your name, though, just for future reference. Do you look at this roster as a, quote, serious contender? When you have Joel Embiid, you're a serious contender. When you have Joel Embiid, you're a serious contender. Well, they can't get to the third round. Yeah, they're getting to the second round a lot. Game 7s, Game 6. If you're constantly going head-to-head with teams in the second round, and I know it matters on who wins the round previously, I'm just saying, in the NBA, if you're the top 4, a lot of the times you see the top 4 teams. You see 1 and 4, 2 and 3. You're going head-to-head. Look, in this league, sometimes you could be, let's say there's 4 teams at the top of the East, and basically they're all kind of in that same tier. You all have a similar percentage to do this. And if you're constantly in the dogfight with the other 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, I feel eventually you're going to crack through. And when you have Embiid playing like this, where he's giving you 50+, last year he's hitting game winners on the road in Toronto, you're not far off. And I can make the argument that this is their best roster of all their attempts. They got to get back on the floor. They got to get their run so they can kind of establish their identity when healthy and guys can fall into their respected roles. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. They're 19 games into the season. We need to start to see it, though. Hopefully Harden and B can start coming back. We know about Maxi's timeline. We got to get the guys back on the floor. Do I see this roster as a serious contender? How can I not? It's not just about them not getting to the third round. I mean, if you're one game away, if you're 2 games, if you're getting there nonstop every year, you're not that far off from the Eastern Conference Finals. If you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're a serious contender. They haven't been able to do it yet, but it doesn't mean that I don't think that they can. It's a hard task. They've been close. They're banging on the door. I got to make it happen, though. All right, everyone. You're the greatest. Thank you. Sixers Hoop on a Saturday morning. It's nice. It's nice. Catch you guys after the Birds game.